Welcome, everyone. This is the March 2024 General Meeting of Swing Left Peninsula. We're a chapter of Swing Left in the Bay Area in California between roughly San Francisco and San Jose. My name is Laura Gottsman. I'm a volunteer leader with Swing Left Peninsula. And it is 5:02, so we're going to go ahead and get started. If you could go to the next slide, please. We'll start by reviewing the agenda. Okay, so as we always do, please sign up for our April general meeting. We have these meetings on the third Tuesday of the month at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Then we'll go over our good news segment because we feel really strongly you don't hear enough good news in your regular media consumption diet, so we try to highlight that for you. And then we're thrilled today to have as our special guest Cassandra Chavez, who's the organizing director of the California Democratic Party. The California primaries just finished, and so Cassandra will be giving us up-to-the-minute information on what's happening in California in the races that we focus on and also all over the state. And then we'll go over our organizing and action updates for all the things that we do. And at the end, we'll call an end to the official meeting. And if you'd like to stay, if you're new, if you're old, if you'd like to stay and chat with the leaders about anything, you have questions, anything you want to talk about, that we'll do that after the close of the official part of the meeting. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. So there was so much good news, I had trouble choosing what to focus on, and I didn't want to be overwhelming. I wanted to focus on one thing, and I decided to focus on the way in which the ground game of the Democratic grassroots just keeps getting stronger and stronger. So going back to 2017, right, we barely had a ground game. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just learning. Then we won the House in 2018. We won the presidency and the Senate in 2020. And I didn't really know any activists after President Biden won the election who said, good news, our work is done, we can stop right there. All of us kept going. All of us were still concerned about the country. All of us were worried about what would happen in 2022, when typically the party in power, the Democrats, should have lost a bunch of seats in those midterm elections. But that didn't happen. In fact, in the midterms in 2022, we had the best midterms since FDR, since the 1930s. We gained a Senate seat. We kept the House extremely close. We won. We didn't lose a single state legislative body anywhere. We added governorships. We added new legislative bodies in battleground states. And that really defied history. That hasn't happened since the 1930s. So then in 2023, we started working on election after election. We worked on the Wisconsin Senate race. We worked in Ohio. We worked in the Jacksonville mayoral race. We worked in, I'm forgetting one, but then we worked in Virginia. So in November, we worked in Virginia. In the November elections in Virginia, we were trying to hold the Senate and flip the state assembly, and there was a lot at stake. There was abortion access for women all over the South. Virginia is one of the last places that abortion care is available in the South. And Governor Glenn Youngkin was hoping to turn into a presidential candidate by having a strong showing in that race. And as it was coming up, the Democrats on the ground, the people, the campaign managers, the people from the party, from the National Party, were concerned. They were not confident that they were going to be able to do what they wanted to do. And a call went out nationally saying, we need more help in Virginia. We need more people working in Virginia. And people responded to that call. Our own Judith Bolker flew to Virginia and canvassed there in person for a week. People called in from all over the country. People donated last-minute money to campaigns to get more of their message out at the end. And we won those races, and some of them were extremely close, and we won because we all worked. We all worked, and we changed what could have been a loss for us into a win. Okay, then it turns into 2024. The first race in 2024 was a special election in a House district in Florida that's DeSantis country. It was House District 35. it was redistricted leading into 2022. 2022 was the first election held under those maps, and the Republican won the race by 10 points. So in January of 2024, the Democrat Tom Keene ran in a special election for that seat. He was outspent in campaign dollars over 2-1 by the Republican candidate, but he won by 2.5 points. That's another race where the campaign's own polling showed that they were going to lose. Tom Keene didn't think he was going to win that race. And because of the amount of work that was put in by volunteers all over the country, and especially in Florida, Maxwell Frost, who's the youngest House representative in the country, put his whole campaign operation behind Tom Keene to win that seat, and they did it. And then the next place we worked in February was the House District New York 03 race. There, the level of work from around the country was unprecedented. 2 million phone calls. So if you wanted to go buy 2 million phone calls from a call center, assuming you had the money to do it, you couldn't do it. You couldn't go to a call center and say, I'd like you to make 2 million phone calls into this area over a 5-week period, and you have a week's notice to train all your people. And I was talking to a Democratic campaign outfit last week, and I made that point, and the person responded, it's actually even better than that. I mean, it's even more impressive than that, because when you pay people to make phone calls, it's nowhere near the effectiveness. There's nowhere near the impact as when volunteers are making phone calls because they're dedicated and they're passionate. And it's the same with the door knocks. It's the same with the letters. The people who organized the letter campaign in New York 03, their stretch goal was 30,000 letters, and they blew through it all the way up to 50,000 letters. Every Democratic household in New York 03, the Tom Suozzi campaign estimates, got 5 handwritten postcards. And he won by 8 points in a district that Republicans thought they could hold. They wouldn't have expelled Santos in the first place if they didn't think they could hold the seat. They handpicked their candidate. They didn't have a primary, and they still got their butts kicked. And that's supposed to be a bellwether race for us, right? So that shows that's good news for us for 2024 if we keep up the work. And in these segments, I usually don't talk about the GOP much. I focus on us, but the contrast is really incredible. The GOP campaign infrastructure, elections infrastructure is crumbling. Their state parties, many of them are in disarray. Many of them don't have money. Many of them have lost their leadership. And then they decided it would be a good idea to get rid of the RNC chair and fire all the staffers who knew what they were doing. These are not the actions of a party that has its ground game together, but we do. So they're losing their ground game. Ours just keeps getting stronger. And we saw it again in Rudy Salas's race in CD22, which we'll talk about more. But basically, the grassroots again came in and made sure that Rudy advanced to the general election. Okay, next slide, please. So you are here. You are here at the yellow line. It's mid-March. We've gotten through the California primary. You'll hear a lot more about that. The letters, the Get Out the Vote letters from Vote Forward have launched. That's how I've been spending most of my time the last couple of weeks. We had a fundraiser on Sunday. We'll talk about another very important fundraiser that's coming up soon. And then there's a number of volunteer training events. But it's also the time where I want you to think of training not just in terms of events, but more sort of like if you've ever gone to a square dance or a contra dance, you don't want to sit on the sidelines till later in the night. You want to get out and start learning the steps, because the dances only get more complicated as time goes on. So now is the time to try stuff you haven't tried before and get more comfortable doing it, so that when crunch time comes in the fall, you're all ready to go. So training doesn't just mean attending a training. It means trying out different things, finding the activities that really work for you, that you like doing, finding the group you like doing it with, all that stuff, so that as things heat up over the course of 2024, you're ready to go. Okay, now I would like to turn it over to my colleague Judith to introduce our special guest.
I am so pleased to introduce you to Cassandra Chavez. Cassandra was born and raised in Fresno, California. She was the first in her family to get a college degree and attended the UCLA. Studying international studies ignited her interest in community organizing and in the California Democratic Party. As the California Democratic Party's organizing director, she's focused on voter outreach all over California, and especially in the Central Valley, working with communities of color to provide eligible voters with the tools of empowerment. And she is going to talk with us about what's happened with the Super Tuesday and what we have to look forward to in California. So, Cassandra.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Judith, for that introduction. And thank you for inviting me to speak tonight. I'm so excited to be here and talk about all of the work that's been done. It's not just from January up until the primary. We've been working for the past 2 years. CADEM made investments in the Central Valley starting in 2022 when I was initially hired, and we started our outreach last year in the summer with our issue-based phone calls and our issue-based conversations. And then we hit the Republican incumbents pretty hard last year with our voter education phone calls. And we ended last year with our meet and greets and canvasses. And all of that came to fruition in March with the primary and Rudy Salas as our prime example of a really great strategy and also just seeing the results. Rudy is now at 30% of the vote in the 22nd district, and he's trailing about 800 votes behind the Republican incumbent, David Valadao. So I think with all of our contribution and all of the effort that was put into that district, it is definitely defined as a success there. We could be ballot curing, we could be out in the ground right now, but we don't have to be. So we were all anticipating having to do that. And we are so happy with the results there and that Rudy made it to the November general election. It was definitely something that we read in all of the news articles leading up to the primary that there was this potential for Rudy to not make it, and he did. So getting back now to all of these districts. So we all know the magic number for this year is 5. We have to win. We have to flip 5 congressional districts to take back control of the House. And in California, we have the opportunity to do that. We are the state with the most congressional districts that can flip this year. And so everyone around the country is looking to California to do this. In California, we're looking at the 13th congressional district, the 22nd, the 27th, the 41st, and then also the 45th. The first 4 are rated a toss-up by Cook Political Report. They're also in the first wave of D-TRIP investments. So all of those districts, and 2 of them are right here in the Central Valley, which I consider kind of like the battleground of California. The Central Valley is not your typical sea of blue. It's not NorCal and it's not SoCal. It's its own entity. And I think it's comparable to our battleground states, around the country. It really does have, it really is brought up in a lot of articles. It's studied. The demographic base here is a lot different. Our largest voting bloc in the Valley are young Latinos. So we have a very interesting demographic with a group that overlaps with 2 of the lowest turnout groups, young voters and Latino voters. So we do have our work cut out for us here, but in order to prepare for November, we're going to obviously invest in direct voter contact through phone calls, through conversations, and also through conversations at the doors. Our main priority is to continue to talk to voters and educate them about our current Democratic candidates and also informing them of the bad policies of the current Republican incumbents. The main thing is to make sure with name repetition and recognition that we continue to talk to them about Rudy Salas and Adam Gray and make sure that they know about them. Both of our candidates, both of these great candidates served in the assembly for 10 years. And although they served in the assembly for 10 years, some of the district with redistricting in 2022 led to them not having name recognition in some parts of the district. So in Rudy's case, right, we're talking to voters primarily focusing in on that Tulare County area. Obviously, we have Kern County where we're talking to a lot of Democrats, and we have Kings County, but in Tulare County, we really have to talk to a lot of voters who don't know Rudy yet. They don't know about him. He did not represent them in the assembly. So a lot of persuasion conversations will happen there. And then in Adam Gray's district in the 13th, we're really talking to the Madera County voters, the West Fresno County voters. Those are the ones that did not represent him or were not represented by Adam Gray for 10 years in the assembly. And then, of course, we have a lot of work still to be done in Merced County, in Stanislaus County, and in that lower region of San Joaquin County. So a lot of work to be done there as well. And we're also going to be focusing on some voter registration through our Youth Vote program. We have a paid internship program where we recruit interns on college campuses across the state. And right now we have about 4 interns in the Central Valley alone focused on voter registration outreach on their college campuses. And they're also contributing to building that necessary volunteer infrastructure within the youth. And so we're really focused on building the volunteer infrastructure, building additional capacity, training our volunteers and getting them activated for November. That is the primary goal, and just having these conversations with voters. Right now, we're looking at a universe of about 100,000 voters, and these are people that we need to talk to multiple times in different ways. We're not always going to reach them at the door. We're not always going to reach them at the phones, but we're going to figure out the best way to contact and communicate with all of these voters. We'll also be incorporating some candidate meet and greets. So we want to make sure that we get the candidates out there so they can have interaction with the voters directly. And then we'll also be hosting some house parties during this period, this next 3 months. So for the next 3 months of April, May and June, we'll be having those additional events. And then as we get into the summer months, we'll get right back into direct voter contact. And then we'll be waiting for that one time when the ballots finally drop and we just call the voters up and remind them to get their ballots turned in. I think in California, we have great voter registration methods and set up through, the DMV, through Medi-Cal. We have pre-registration for people who are not yet 18. We have a lot of great systems in place in California, and we have vote by mail. Everyone automatically gets a ballot. The only problem is people are not turning them in. And I think that's what we're seeing right now is that people are not turning in their ballots. We made it so easy for everyone. I guess they forgot. They're taking it for granted. So really, it's our job to call them, send them those reminders, and talk to them at the door. And when we're talking about young voters and Latino voters, it's really important to meet them where they're at, be at their doors, because a lot of the time what we're figuring out is that they need assistance filling out that ballot, a lot of questions about the candidates. Who do we vote for? Who should we support? Who are the Democrats? And that's why it's important to talk to them and spend a little extra time. And these early investments in the district are really what's going to make the difference in November. The fact that we've been in the district working at this since last year and talking to voters at the door starting early on is what's really going to make the difference in November. And we already saw that happen in the 22nd, which was our only competitive primary across the state. And we were able to ensure that Rudy made it into the top 2 for November.
Wow. Cassandra, sounds like you have just been lounging about for the last 2 years. No, you actually have an amazing program that you should be so proud of. You really are doing everything different, organizing all the time. It used to be the Democrats would parachute in right near an election, and that would be it. So how can you explain that turnout was low for the primary? And can you please compare it to like other presidential primaries? Was Has turnout always been low in a presidential primary or just this one in particular?
So it was low, but it wasn't just low in California. It was low across the country. So California was right there with the rest of the country in terms of turnout. Um, and we saw in 2012, right, with Obama re-election campaign, that's one of the lowest turnout years. And so I think we can compare it to that year. Although it's not as low as 2012, it was there, but Biden is now running for his reelection campaign. And I believe that's also what contributed to some of the low turnout. But we can also look at 2018. In 2018, the Republicans received about 50% of the vote in the primary, and everyone was very worried. Then what happened? I think we all remember what happened in the general, right? We were able to win and flip those seats in 2018. And so although turnout may be low in some of the areas, I think we know where we have some work to do and some deeper conversations with voters. But I think that should not be an indicator as to what's to come in November. I have full faith that this program and the investments, the early investments, are what's really going to make the difference in November.
So we have a question from chat. There have been news articles about some Latinos gravitating towards the GOP. Are there any thoughts on Democratic strategies to draw in more Latino voters?
Yes, I have read all of those articles about gravitating towards the GOP or maybe registering independent as opposed to Democrat. And we are, making sure that we're keeping track of that. In order to mitigate that, the party has invested in a Vota Latino outreach program. We are currently looking for a Latino organizing manager to fill a role within the Central Valley and create a plan that will not only be bilingual, but will also offer the voter education that's necessary to ensure that Latinos don't feel like they're left out of the voting process. I think part of it is that there's a lack of engagement at that level. And that's why I think we're seeing some Latinos that are misinformed or disinformed with the information that's currently out there. And I think that the messaging from the Republican Party is very easy to follow. It's very easy to see. It's all over social media. So we're also making an effort to ensure that we have a presence on social media and on digital platforms, because I also just read an article this morning that said that most Latino voters are getting a lot of their information from social media and from digital platforms. So it's really important that we try our best to ensure that we're providing the most voter information and education as possible. And I think the conversations at the door are our way of mitigating that.
Could you talk a little bit more about your youth outreach with the interns? What are they doing? It sounds like they're registering voters, but what are they doing to turn the newly registered into actual voters?
Yes, so we have our Youth Vote internship program. Last year, we had all of our cohorts. We had about 3 of them. And this year we'll have 3. We currently have our spring interns. We'll have a summer internship, and then we'll have the fall. And the fall will be longer than our typical 10-week internship program. So what we do is, or what the interns are focused on, is voter registration on college campuses, but they're also building relationships on campuses with other students. So they're creating these communities on their campus, and with the focus on recruiting volunteers and interns from these targeted districts, which we all know in the 22nd district, for example, there aren't a lot of colleges or college campuses in Kings County or Tulare County. So we do have these, like, I would say, educational deserts, right? College education deserts in the Valley, where it's tough to find areas where we can engage with the youth. And so, but we are doing our best, and we have actually found interns on College of the Sequoia campus in Visalia, which is right there on the border of the 22nd district. And we've done a really good job of finding interns to take over those roles. So once they register someone to vote on their campus, what they then do is they also are finding people who want to volunteer. And we follow up with everyone who wants to volunteer, who wants to get involved. And they end up, becoming part of our regular recruitment phone banks. And so we follow up with them, we ensure that we get them involved, and the interns create a schedule, which is a weekly schedule of outreach on their campus. So they end up becoming an integral part of the campus community. And, after that point, students know where they're out on campus, know where to ask questions, know who to ask questions to. And so that's their job, is to ensure that they not only register voters and students, but that they continue those conversations through weekly engagement on their campus.
That sounds great. That sounds like a great way to turn new voters into regular voters, which is what we need to have happen here. So last question. What would you say are the top 3 things that those of us on this Zoom call can do to help our candidates win in CD22 and CD13 in the next, I guess we have 6 or 7 months left. So what would you recommend we all get busy doing?
I think the best thing to do is to sign up to volunteer, contribute as many volunteer hours. We need to have multiple touches with voters at this point leading up to November. By November, we want everyone to know who Rudy Salas is. We want that ingrained in the minds of every voter. So by the time November comes, everyone just knows to turn in their ballot. This is also an opportunity to answer any questions, make sure that we're answering any questions related to issues that are at a local level. I think we all know from the issue-based outreach over the summer what the top issues are in the Valley. It's the economy, healthcare, right? And homelessness or unhoused. So all of those 3 issues are at the top of the minds of people in the Valley. So using those issues, all of that research that we have from this summer, having meaningful conversations with people at the doors and over the phone, and just ensuring that we're providing them with all the information that they need in education on voting and on the candidates prior to November. I think that's the best way to utilize the time now. Like I said, the universe is big. It's about 100,000 voters that we need to, talk to multiple times before we get to November.
Great. Cassandra, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. You're a great organizer. And thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And, I look forward to these next few months. We're in an exciting time right now, and getting all of these events on the calendar and making sure that we talk to as many voters as possible and are prepared for November. Thank you.
Beautiful. All right.
Bye.
Okay, so Cassandra and I planned that carefully, that she would end by noting about the all events calendar. Not really. So, but we're on the same page. So we're now going to move into the part of the meeting where we talk about all the opportunities for you to get involved. And we're going to put a whole bunch of links in the chat. But we also have now, we've launched recently an all events calendar. And this is a screenshot. It's not a demo, but it has the calendar has all of the things that we're going to talk about and put the mobilized links and so forth in the chat tonight. They're all on this calendar. If you click where it says, for example, SLP general meeting, something pops up underneath that gives you the place to click to RSVP for the meeting, and also gives you more information about the meeting. Same for the letter party in Mountain View, or the phone bank to California, Nevada, and Arizona. So there's one place you can go now, and anything that we've talked about in these meetings is going to be on that calendar. If you can't find something, there's a big red button up in the top right that says questions, email us. So if you thought you heard something and now you can't find it, send us an email, we'll help you find it. Also, if you are looking at an event and you have a question about the event, email us. We will either answer it ourselves if it's our event, or if it's someone else's event, We know all the organizers of any event that we put on our calendar, and we'll either get the answer for you or put you in touch with the organizer. So the address to find this calendar is right below the top line of this slide. It's on our letters website and on the event sign up page. So you can click, if you're looking at that top menu, you can click on the all events calendar to see all the events. We also have a letter parties calendar, which is what we used to only have a letters party calendar. Now we have two. The letter parties are in both places. Okay, so going into all of your opportunities, the first person up on that, I'm going to turn it over to Carol Flores to talk about canvassing in the Central Valley.
Thank you, Laura. And that was really great hearing from Cassandra and knowing how important it is to go canvassing. And this is a map that just shows everybody concretely where 13 and 22 are. You can see the counties for 13, for example. It's the very bottom part of San Joaquin County, then about half of Stanislaus County. It looks like all of Merced County and part of Fresno County and a little part of Madera County. So it has obviously several counties. The thing about 13 is that Biden won there by almost 11%. And Adam Gray, who's the candidate, which we'll see his picture in a moment, he only lost by 500 votes to a man named John Duarte, who it was an open race where they were both new candidates at the congressional level. You heard about how Adam had been in the state assembly, but that was the first time in 2022 that he ran for the Congress. He lost by just a little bit, so he's back again, and this time he's going to do it. Then Rudy Salas, CA22, is almost a 13% win by Biden. Rudy lost by about 3,000 votes, I think it was. The counties that are there, well, this was in 2022, are Kings, Tulare, and Kern. Kern is down in the Bakersfield area. I've gone canvassing to many of these places. Starting in 2022, I wanted to focus on these areas. So, and then I started canvassing again before the primary. And so you can go to the next slide, please. Great. Okay. This shows the pictures of the two candidates. You've heard a lot about Rudy and how there was a lot of canvassers that went over the GOTV weekend to get him over so that he would be part of the top two. And then Adam Gray was running uncontested, so there wasn't really a problem there. But we have already started canvassing in these areas. And the main reason is, as Cassandra was saying, it's just important to start making contact with all these voters. I was just there last Saturday in Patterson, and you can see over here where it says CD13 canvases that Ceres is one of the cities that we'll be going to. Patterson, Merced, Lathrop, and Modesto are the main areas that we're targeting. And I was told by a person that I met in Patterson this last weekend that Ceres and Patterson are two places that have low voter turnout. And if we can but they actually have more registered Democrats in both of those towns. So if we can just get these Democrats to come out. And the way we do that is by going and talking to them at the door. Phoning is a good thing too, but I've come to really enjoy canvassing and talking people at the door. They're actually quite nice to you at the door. And, I don't usually ever have anybody, sometimes people won't answer the door, but for example, I was down in Tulare in CD22 in mid-February, and you'll notice that these say 3 days. It's because it's further away, and I'll explain that a little bit. But basically, over the time in Tulare, I was able to get 4 volunteers and had many good conversations. This last week in Patterson, I was able to get 1 volunteer, which I was happy about, and also had a lot of good conversations during the time I was canvassing. Now, I'm sort of going to be heading up some canvassing to 13 in Four Swing Left Peninsula. And Ceres is going to be one of the main places that we're going to be working. Patterson some of the time also, but there's canvases that are sponsored by the Bay Area Coalition or BAC that are in all of these areas, and different members of the Bay Area Coalition will be heading up these various canvases. One of the things that's happening in Ceres and Patterson specifically is that we're trying to really get volunteers there, not just to volunteer for the candidate, but to be possibly like precinct captains or people that will, take the responsibility to meet together with other Democrats, but then go out and talk to people in their neighborhoods when we're not able to be there, because we could mostly go on a weekend and, they live there. And so we're trying to get more on the ground volunteers. All of these places are drivable to, in CD13, these towns, they take about an hour and 15 minutes from where I live. I live in Mountain View. Now I know people were coming from Berkeley, the East Bay area, and they were telling me it was about an hour and a half from there too. So, I know back in 2018, I went out to Josh Harder's area a lot, and he was doing Modesto at that time. But, there were a few places that were closer, but we did it in 2018, and we can do it again. And it's just, one of the things you might think of is every month plan a canvas, because you can see by these 5 towns that there are choices. And so if you just look at the calendars and see what fits into your schedule in terms of a place to go. But, Ceres and Patterson are places that I'm going to be particularly focusing on. And then going on to CD22, usually it's a 3-day stay, just because it's a longer drive. It takes about 4 hours to get there. So you want to go and plan on spending a couple nights. There is some in the area housing, but also we usually stay in a hotel together, and there's some stipends. I just got a check in the mail just yesterday for a couple of nights that I, paid for in Tulare when I was there. So I don't know if there's anything I've forgotten, but all of these are very important, and I just really strongly want to encourage you to sign up for canvasses and start talking to voters in person, because it's a great way to engage with people. And, these are great candidates, and this is how we're going to flip the House.
Okay, great. We are now going to hear about a fundraiser that's coming up for the Central Valley in general. Here is Shannon Edwards from Central Valley Matters.
Hi, everybody. First, I want to say thank you to lots of you on the call who are active part of Central Valley Matters. Carol, Bruce, anyway, there's loads. I'll go through the whole list, and there's lots of you. I also want to say thank you to so many of you on the call whose names I recognize as large donors. What happened with Central Valley Matters is 3 years ago in 2018, many of us were in CD22 realizing that because it's a 3-day canvas, that's a really far place to go to. And we were working for Dolores Huerta's son. At that time, he was running for city council, and Yolanda, who's from Delano Guardians, planted a seed and said, hey, can you all please help us out here? You Bay Area folks, you have a little extra money and you have more retirees. Many of us are spend our elder days going to doctors' offices, and we don't have as many elders to be the volunteers. So she said, will you start something? And so a group of us came together and created Central Valley Matters. Our job at that time was to support the grassroots. And we have now 2 campaigns, a grassroots campaign with C3 donors. And those are for people who need to have tax deductions. So it's a way to do civic engagement work and voter registration, but you still get to have a tax write-off. You're not giving to the candidates because many of you also have DAFs and IRAs and required minimum distributions. And so we are the people who you donate to into CD22 if you need to have that more legacy gift. And so I will say to you, after 3 years and 6 fundraisers, we do 2 a year, we have reached the $1 million mark 2 days ago. No, it was on Saturday. So it was a very exciting day for our group. After 3 years, all of you have donated so generously that we hit that mark. Our next fundraiser is very exciting. You can see we got the big names on this one. That's Dolores Huerta and Jane Fonda. They're both going to be on the call April 25th at 5. And so the sign up link is just been put in the chat. Actually, there's a sign up link. Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to put, I don't know which sign up link that is that you just gave, but I'll put the other one in.
That one's fine, Shannon.
Okay, because yours has so many extra words on the end of it.
Yeah,
I'm like, that looks funny to me.
it's perfectly okay.
Okay, great. I'm like, there's too many numbers and letters. Thanks, Bruce. Bruce and Judith both helped make this. This is your account. So, and it's Judith's account for the Zoom. So they know more than me. Anyway, this is going to be a fantastic fundraiser to get to meet Jane, who's 87, and Dolores, who's 94. And the 2 of them who wake up every day and they are activists since they've been born pretty much are going to share with us their stories, what has gotten them together, what has kept them going, and then mostly why the Central Valley does matter. And I just want to say to everyone, if you are getting confused about like, what do I do? Do I give to 13 or do I give to 22? Or do I give to the grassroots who are there around the clock, knowing their neighbors and slowly but surely hiring people who live in the valley? Or should I give to candidates? And I will just say all of the above. Absolutely, we need to give to Rudy Salas. Absolutely, we need to build the bench here in the Central Valley through the grassroots. And I will tell you the truth. We, as a group, we meet every Friday. You're welcome to join us at 4 p.m. on Fridays. We worked for about 3 months to create these fundraisers so that we can make big money. And we decided that we were not going to divorce any of our groups this time. So we are now funding six grassroots groups. We started with 3, and that means we're asking everyone to double their pledges this time, because if we raise $150,000 and there's 6 groups, each group will get $25,000. That might pay for half a staff member for half of a year. So our goal is to get more. So this is the time for you to dig deep and realize that this is the place. This is the must-win race. In CD13, since it's closer, you can go knock on doors. In CD22, please knock on doors, but also know it's maybe better for you to give money in CD22 and go out and do the job in CD13. Both are key to winning. So that's it. If you're interested in DAF or IRA information, you can just reach out to centralvalleymatters@gmail.com. If you're interested in learning more about our groups, you can go to our webpage, which is centralvalleymatters.org, and feel free to reach out to any of the people. There's so many people on this call who know so much about Central Valley Matters. We're all in this together. Did I forget anything, team? Did I?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. I know what I forgot. Friday, we have a deadline. The deadline, it's our early challenge match. We've all decided to reach out to people who've been large donors in the past over this 2-week period. And our goal is to get to $75,000 as our challenge fund, which gets us going to get to the 150. So if anyone is in any position to donate or to just pledge that money to us by Friday, reach out to Judith, Bruce, Shannon, Carol, Barbara Kaiser. I'm not seeing your faces. If there's someone else out there who's a part of our team, speak up and let us know that you can donate. We want to reach 75,000 by Friday, and guess where we are right now? We're at 60. Yay. So we have just a little ways to go to make our first goal. And then by April 25th, we want to make a lot more than that. So, all right, that's it. Come see Jane, and there's a sign up link. Make sure to sign up. We already have 200 people. We just got this we haven't even advertised it yet much. So we're excited. It's going to be a sellout, I think.
Shannon, thank you so much. The work that Central Valley Matters has done is amazing. It's incredible. I'm sure this is going to be a fabulous event. I mean, they always are, but you keep upping your game in terms of who you have coming to speak. Now we're going to switch over from the Central Valley to two of the other areas that we focus on, Nevada and Arizona. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague and one of the founders of Swing Left Peninsula, Scott Carlson.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. Hello, everybody. Yeah, I think many of you have seen this slide before. These are the so-called super states that Swing Left National has identified as their priorities. And you will see that Nevada and Arizona are two of those states, and Arizona possibly being the superest state of all, with races at all levels. And I'll say more about that in a minute. I just want to give you a little bit of information about canvases in Nevada and Arizona on our end. Things are just beginning to get going, although Arizona has been a little more active than Nevada. Let me talk about Nevada first. Nevada is going to be, the Democratic Party is going to be hiring an out-of-state coordinator to work with groups like ours. And they're going to be hiring that person by the end of March, and we hope to be in communication with that person. There may be canvases going on in Nevada right now, but on a really small local level, but none that we really know of. As soon as we know of any, we will inform you about them. We hope to sponsor one in the springtime, at least once in the springtime. There's a June 11 primary in Nevada, and we think it's a good idea to get one under our belt in the springtime in order to see how it goes and be organized for more canvases in September and October. Our focus, I think, will be on northern Nevada, Reno, Carson City, although I know there are some people who are interested in going to Las Vegas, and when we learn about canvases in Las Vegas, we will also inform you about those, but I can't really speak to them right now. One thing I'd like to just float at this point is that you will see an email on this coming up, but if you own or if you know someone who owns a house in the general Tahoe area and you might be willing to host some canvassers for a weekend in the fall, would you please let us know? You can send a message to info@swingleftpeninsula.org. That's info@swingleftpeninsula.org. And that would be if you're at least willing to consider hosting some canvassers who would stay in the house in the fall, in September and October, and then be able to travel over to Reno and possibly to Carson City as well. So about Arizona, there are canvases going on in Arizona right now. They don't have our brand, our tag on them. We don't have mobilized links for them, but they are happening. And we'll put a link in the chat from a group called Swing Blue Alliance Arizona. They've invited people to come to Arizona, and that link has an information sheet on how you can get in contact with them and sign up. And they will then get in contact with you and let you know where you can go and what you can do. Arizona, again, as I mentioned before, is possibly, you don't want to say it's the most important state in the election, but It's, as I said, it's probably the superest state on the map. It has a race, of course, for the presidency, for the Senate. The intolerable Kerry Lake is running as a Republican. It has races in the Arizona House and the Arizona Senate. They're both just two seats shy of a majority for the Democrats. And then there may be as well an abortion access ballot initiative on the ballot in the fall. They're now getting signatures on a petition to put that initiative on the ballot. And you can go down there now and participate in the signature gathering for that. In fact, there is a training this Thursday online, and we're going to put a link in the chat as well for that, for people who may be interested in going to Arizona to gather signatures for that ballot measure. You do need to get trained for it if you're an out-of-state signature gatherer. I think that is about it on the Arizona info sheet link. Again, there's a Google form that you fill out if you're interested in going. Just note that because of the weather, the people down in Arizona are recommending, at least for the springtime, that you go to Phoenix before May 1st and go to Tucson before June 1st. So, and things are happening there. And the Arizona info sheet link will tell you a lot of information about what they're doing down there.
Scott, thank you so much. I just want to clarify for people, Bruce, if you could just go to the next slide real quick, that the canvassing that's happening in Arizona now, the spring canvasses that are happening in Arizona, we know a little bit about the people organizing them. We don't know a lot. These are not trips that we're planning, but for people who are really eager to go to Arizona, these are the people to get in contact with to find out what's happening, and they can help you do it. But these aren't ones where we know the organizers really well and we know exactly what's happening, but we wanted to tell you about it because it is happening. And in Nevada, they really haven't it's not really going yet for out-of-state canvassers to come in. And then it is now Judith's turn to talk about phone banks.
All right. And I do want to say a tiny bit about canvassing, because stay tuned. We will have some canvases to Arizona very soon. So just hang in there, and they will be Bay Area Coalition branded and along with Swing Left Peninsula. So I am really excited to tell you about the Bay Area Coalition phone banks that we currently hold phone banks every Wednesday from 5 to 7. And we will be adding Saturday and Monday phone banks soon. Now, Richard's putting the link in chat for you to sign up for a shift to phone bank. And I urge you, join us tomorrow. We have a phone bank from 5 to 7 tomorrow, and it is a very important phone bank. It's perfect for first timers if you've never ever phone banked before. So as Scott was saying, Arizona has been designated as the state most likely to flip their state legislature blue in 2024. And in Arizona, Legislative District 13, there is a real opportunity to elect one state senator and two Democratic state assembly members. Two of those candidates just filed to run for office last week. And to get placed on the ballot, they must gather 700 signatures on a petition. They only have 2 more weeks to get their signatures. And we need you to help make calls to friendly Dems and ask them to sign the petition so they can be on the ballot. There's evidence that shows if people vote down ballot, they are more likely to vote up ballot. So we really need your help. Please take a moment right now to sign up for a shift on tomorrow's phone bank. We're also offering DNC calls to Arizona. We're recruiting volunteers for the Arizona All Aboard training series. which is training sessions on Thursday and Saturday. And it's training people about how to use messaging and how to amplify positive democratic messages on social media. And they use Scale to Win, which is an auto dialer. And you just heard Cassandra and Carol talking about how important CD22 is to make sure Rudy Salas wins. And we're going to have a phone bank available this Wednesday to call into CD22 on behalf of Rudy Salas. So make plans to join us tomorrow or any Wednesday and help save our democracy. Thank you.
Okay, it's my turn to talk about letters. We have 2 minutes left. I'm going to finish on time. And then again, if you want to stay and chat with leaders or ask questions, you're welcome to do that. So letters means a get out the vote letter. We write them all year. We store them and then we mail them in October to motivate people to vote. And there's a sample letter on the right side of this slide. So most of the letter is pre-printed. And the part that the volunteer writes is pretty minimal. It's everything in blue is written by the volunteer. If you could go to the next slide, please. We've launched the letter program. The letter campaigns became available on March 6th, and we went immediately into action. You can pick up letters from us at any of our 5 pickup depots in those cities. You can print them at home from a Vote Forward account, your own account. You can join us at a letter party. When you go look at the letter party calendar, you might think like, gee, they really need some more parties on here. And you're right, we do. So a party just means you and 1 or 2 more people, and you're being willing to open it up to anyone who wants to come. One of our volunteers will come to a party, help you train people, bring our blue pens, wear our t-shirts. Here, I'm going to show you my t-shirt. I just did Vote and Win. So I just did 3 letter events and lots of people wanted my t-shirt. You can order these from Swing Left National. We also have a store that Swing Left National gives us, and we give them out to people who have letter parties and do other things so that they can know that you're the person to ask questions. And then I just want to point out that if you came last time, I told you that in 2022 and 2023, Swing Left Peninsula wrote 7% of the national total of all letters that were written. And in our first 10 days here, we're right on track with that. I didn't plan it this way, but we downloaded 31,100 letters. And if you divide that by the total downloaded nationally, we're right at 7%. In addition to that, most of the letters that were posted in the first round are gone. And there were a day or two there where there was barely anything left. I don't think Vote Forward and Swing Left were really expecting that kind of a response. They've just reloaded the letters, so we're ready to go again. And then if you could just quickly go to the last slide. These are all the training events that are coming up. But remember, as I said at the beginning, training isn't just about events. It's about trying stuff out now, seeing what you like to do, seeing the people you like to do it with. So all of those events, all those trainings, they're not required. You don't have to go to a canvassing training in order to canvass. But if you want to learn more about it, hear more what it's about before you give it a try, we really encourage you to go to those. Okay, I'm going to call an end to the formal part of the meeting. If you want to leave now, you're excused. Thank you all for coming to the March General Meeting of Swing Left Peninsula.